Welcome to Speaking of Pets, Take 2.
This week, we are revisiting a previous episode.
Lots of great information. We wanted you to enjoy it twice.
Here's today's episode, created just for you and your pets.
Hey, Janet, guess what? We're lucky enough to have Dr. Linda Schoenberg back today to talk about cats and all of their maladies. If you remember, Linda got her DVM degree, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, or at Penn, which they call it Veterinary Medical Degree, VMD. Her Ph.D. at Penn in immunology. As Daddy used to say, she's our resident smart cookie. So we have a million questions that we've gotten from viewers and that we have ourselves. So Janet,
you know where I want to start? I want to start with a funny story. Do you remember the time that I think you and Penny, that's the older Novotny sister, went to the Dairy Queen? And you had just found a kitten.
Yeah.
And the kitten was at home.
Yes.
And then what happened when you brought the ice cream cones home? What did Mom do?
Well, we let the kitten lick the ice cream cone, and then my mother grabbed the ice cream cone. She didn't know the kitten licked it and started licking it, and she acted like, she was going to have an epileptic seizure or something. It was
Why didn't you tell me the cat licked the cone? Anyway, I remember I was very little, so I remember it a little differently.
It's amazing that you and I are such big pet lovers, and I think we are because we were always denied pets.
No, it's true.
Anyway. So Linda, Janet was asking me about hairballs. We need to talk about hairballs.
So can you stop hairballs?
Over grooming cats.
From what I've been told is that every cat grooms, and therefore every cat theoretically has as a risk factor hairballs. The longer the hair, the bigger the problem. The less an owner combs their cat, the greater the problem. But the major problem is the gut. Every gut has what we call peristalsis. That's this squeezy motion that moves things from your stomach into your small intestine and all the way out. When cats have motility issues, that's when they run into problems with hairballs.
Right.
And so therefore, if a cat has some underlying gut disease, they are more prone to having hairballs. So the way that you can potentially try to minimize hairballs is I love using a flea comb because it gets that dead undercoat out. I call it tough love. And the ones that I used to sell when I owned Just Cats had a nice round, smooth end of the hair, the comb.
Yeah.
So I would really comb vigorously, and the owners would always be shocked at the amount of hair that came up that way. The other thing is increasing fiber in the diet, and fiber increases gut motility, and so that would help move things through. For cats that don't like to groom, long-haired breeds especially, they get them shaved periodically so that there are fewer knots that develop, and then as a result of that, also fewer hairballs. I don't like using Vaseline.
You don't.
What I was told to do.
Absorption of nutrients.
Supposed to put it on their paw and they lick it and it's supposed to stop. I never did it because it bothered me. I just thought that was weird.
Well, the problem is Vaseline is like oil, and if you just drank oil when you ate your food, it would interfere with the absorption of a lot of important nutrients.
Well, the other, Alice, we got a question from one of our listeners about fleas on cats. So what do you do about fleas?
Linda, I'll hand that over to you.
Flea is the four-letter F word in our
And there's fleanile. Have you heard of fleanile, Linda? It's flea denial by the owner.
And it's not in Egypt either.
No. We could go on forever.
So fleas. If you're lucky, and not every cat owner is lucky, their cat is not allergic to fleas, and therefore, if a flea gets into the house, and it can come into the house, if the owner likes to garden, they'll pick it up on their clothing, they can bring it in their house. They could have very wonderful friends who come to visit them, who have dogs or cats that may not be on flea prevention. And so they can bring them in, or they can even be better and bring their dog or cat into the house because your particular pets can maybe get along with them, or maybe the dog gets along with the dog and the cat hides, but it will
Yep.
introduce fleas.
Yep.
So if a flea has an opportunity to hop onto your pet because they prefer hopping onto your pet rather than you, and they take a blood meal, they will defecate out blood. And it usually looks little tiny black things. We call it flea dirt, but it's really flea excreta or flea poop. And if you take a little bit of water and take uh, a fingernail is kind of gross because you know what you're putting on your fingernail, and you smear it, it will be red because that's the blood that's coming out the other end of the flea. So that's one way of diagnosing it. So, you know, you can just put the pet on a piece of white paper or a white pillow and ruffle the fur or comb it out, and you'll see a lot of flea droppings, and you know for sure your cat has fleas. If, on the other hand, you have a cat that is exquisitely allergic to fleas, before the flea ever has a chance to take a blood meal, the cat is busy turning its head around and trying to kill it or scratching at itself, and it never really gives the cat a chance, the flea a chance to have a blood meal. So the cat ends up with horrible skin, and you don't see any evidence of fleas. And I recently, when I was doing relief work, had both owners were supposed to come in, a woman and her mother-in-law. They each have cats and they also have a dog. And the mother-in-law's cat, the whole rear end of the cat was catastrophic. It was absolutely horrible, as was part of the back, because normally fleas like to hang out over the tail area, on the middle of the back, sometimes around the neck. This cat was a mess, and I combed the cat and I combed the cat. I'm very persistent, and I did not see any evidence of fleas, but I was convinced. So I said, look, we've got to start flea therapy in the house because they told me that the cats were not getting flea therapy. I think the dog might have been. And I said, just humor me. I want you to buy a flea comb, and I want you to go home to the other cat and comb that cat. And then I got an email or a phone call. Oh my God, they were all over the place as I'm combing. They're flying
Yeah.
off the cat. It was
Yeah.
disgusting. And
Yeah.
yes, it is disgusting. And so once they started instituting therapy for the fleas, I saw, and I gave the cat that was such a disaster a long-acting steroid shot just
Right.
because the cat was so
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it was like a world of difference.
Got to treat all the pets right. You've got to put, they, people don't understand that, okay, so I'm treating the one pet that's itchy, but the one that's not itchy, they're not treating. You've got to treat all the pets in the household. Yeah. What a big difference. Did you have them treat the house too?
No. First of all, I don't like people putting toxic chemicals in their environment, especially if there are young kids, pregnant women.
Right, right.
It's just there are so many better ways of treating
Yeah.
fleas besides putting stuff into the house.
You know, there was that one study that said if you vacuum daily, that picked up 80% of the eggs and larvae. So that to me would be the safest thing.
Yes, I encourage people to vacuum frequently, to vacuum under the furniture,
Yes.
under the cushions of the sofa, because when
Right.
fleas lay their eggs and the eggs
Yeah.
roll off and become larvae, the larvae go and creep to where it's dark and deep.
Right.
So that's under the cushions of the sofa, under some of the furniture. And so and also the thing is you want to make sure that depending upon the kind of vacuum cleaner you have, when you get rid of, if it does have a bag, you want to be outside. You don't want
Yeah.
the fleas hopping out of the bag.
Yeah,
Or if it's
yeah.
one that doesn't even have a bag, you just have to be mindful of how you empty the container so that the fleas don't get out. The
Right.
other thing is there is a pill that a cat can take that will kill all the fleas that are currently on the cat in, I think it takes 24 hours to work. After that, it doesn't. But by then, you've had a chance to put on a topical
Right.
drops like Revolution Plus or a collar,
Yeah.
which can last for months. And some of the collars are multi-purpose. And you also want to make sure that you use a topical that the cats are that still works in cats. There are some anti-flea topicals that have been around for a number of years that I believe the researchers in the South find are no longer really being very effective. And so while they may be cheaper and you can get them at maybe I don't know exactly what Costco sells these days or some of the other places, but I think veterinarians are pretty competitive, and I think a lot of veterinarians are comfortable allowing people to go to Chewy. And I'm hoping that Chewy deals responsibly with their product, and so it's kept under ideal um, thermal, temperature control, and so that and it's made by whom it's supposed to be made, and the product is in fact whose product it truly is.
Right. I remember there was some uh, counterfeit Frontline out a few years ago, the topical Frontline, and the boxes looked
Yeah, we
the
stopped
same.
selling it because
Yeah.
it just wasn't working.
Right. Right. And it wouldn't if it was
And
counterfeit. Right. I was telling.
right. And the other thing is with Revolution Plus,
Yes.
it not only does fleas, but
Right.
it does heartworm,
Right.
it does roundworm, and it does ear mites.
And hookworm
So,
too. Right. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the ideal thing is you want to try and keep your pet as parasite free as possible because you never know where your kid's fingers are going to go. And the last thing you want is for your kid to get a zoonotic disease.
And with Revolution, we talk about heartworm in dogs is so popular, but heartworm in cats is a reality.
Yes. And while in northern Ohio, it may not be a big risk factor, I remember when we had all of the problems in New Orleans with the flooding
Oh
and all
yeah.
these animals that
Yeah.
were evacuated. A lot of them came up north
Yes.
and
Yes.
were rehomed. And all of a sudden, people discovered they had animals with heartworm disease. All it takes is one mosquito to take a blood meal from a dog that has heartworm, and then it's an equal opportunity feeder. And if your cat is it, then you're in trouble. And a lot of people don't believe that it's possible for things to get into their homes. Screens are not foolproof. There are little, you know, tears in the screening, and mosquitoes can get in. And so an ounce of prevention is worth so much in the end.
How true.
Now, do you have to be careful? Like, we have dogs and cats, and I'm very careful. But what it would happen if I accidentally used a dog product on a cat? Like a flea or tick thing.
Well, I think the packaging is pretty self-explanatory. And so therefore, if you're using Revolution for cats, it's not only going to show a cat, but it's also for specific weight of cat.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So
But
that's
but can
helpful.
I tell the story of Janet's husband wanting to give the stuff in the tube Revolution orally instead of putting it on topically? Yeah. I know. So anyway, yeah.
There
Yeah.
are people.
But I have.
So I heard stories, hard to believe but true, of
Okay.
somebody who was given suppositories
Oh yeah.
and it wasn't working. And the doctor said to this person, "How are you doing it?" And the person says, "Well, I'm swallowing it."
God. Well, Linda, I was a pharmacist before I became a vet. And our little joke among pharmacists was you always have to type on the prescription label for suppositories, remove foil before inserting. And they wouldn't work either. There's another way it wouldn't work, right?
Wait, I do have an interesting story. We had a friend of ours actually owns an exterminating company, and I said, "What's the weirdest thing that you've had?"
Yeah.
He said a house that had carpet beetles, and they had no carpets because their kid was allergic. And he
Oh.
couldn't figure out, he goes, well, where do you have a carpet? She goes, well, I've got my mom's old rug up in the attic. The cat would burrow in there,
Yeah.
bring the carpet beetles on its fur right back into the house. And I just thought that was fascinating. You wouldn't think about that, right? That a pet would carry things around like that. But I thought that was kind of interesting.
Listen, I've had patients, and Linda, I think you would agree, that live like on Edgewater Drive in the 20-story high-rise apartments, that the little poodles that never go out anywhere, or they might just walk down the hallway in the apartment, but the hallway's carpeted, and I've had some flea cases from there. Yeah.
There, I can't remember the high rise right on the water on the east side.
Yeah.
And a major CEO of, I can't remember which company, had, I believe, a penthouse apartment, and his cat had fleas.
Oh.
And it
Wow.
was like, whoo,
Yeah.
how did that get there?
Yeah.
You know, it happens. You
Yeah.
never know.
It happens. You're right.
It's like I had a hard time believing when a parasitologist said that when you have plants and, you know, there's the soil in the planter, and so some cats like to sniff around and whatever.
And dig.
He mentioned some outrageously high percentage of plant soil that contain roundworm
No
eggs. And it was
kidding.
like, I was horrified. So,
Right.
I mean, I think at this age, I believe everything because as bizarre as it is, it can happen.
That's for sure.
Do you have any tips or tricks on how to get the cats in? Like when you have to go to the vet, I put them in that carrier, and we have a big carrier, so it's easier to get the cat in. But they don't like it. I mean, it's hard.
That's because they always associate the crate with going to the evil vet. And so, what you have to do is you have to make the crate a fun, safe place. And how do you do that? You leave the crate out, number one. You can put food in the crate so that the cat doesn't think twice about going in, especially food it really likes or some kind of treat. And, you know, the fact that the door is always open, they can go in and out as they wish. Other, there's so much new crate technology where instead of the door and a lot of darkness, they have the zippered tops. So you can just unzip the top, plop the cat in. There's also a way they can go out the side, but they don't freak out. You could also put them in the crate, take them for a ride, not go to the vet, but just take them for a ride. Maybe you could even park in the lot of the veterinary hospital and say, good cat, sweet cat. Oh, you're such a brave kitty. And then turn around and go home. So the less they associate every time they're in the car, it's going to the vet, the better off it is. And the fact that we're not giving vaccinations as frequently as we did because we know that there's a duration of immunity that's longer. If the cat comes in for a wellness exam and the staff is cat friendly, and oh, they do so many things now to make the cats feel so much safer and better there, whether it's the little treat that they can put on a wooden stick and let them churu. They love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there are just so many positive things you can do to make them less stressed out.
What do you think? What do you think of those plug-in pheromones, Linda?
I think they have a place. I think that, so I believe that there used to be two different options. One was for inappropriate urination, and the second one was for multi-cat aggression. And I think they bundle them now together in just one, but I could be wrong. I think they help. I, I think it's easier for a cat to sniff in a product to take the edge off rather than give it a pill because a lot of cats, and we talked about this last time, unless a cat is trained early on to accept a pill and not be afraid of it and just, you know, you open the mouth, you pop it in, you put some water in, oh, good kitty, then smelling it is so much easier than giving them a pill.
So what is it? Is it a
Yeah.
plug-in or what? Is
Yeah,
it oil?
Yeah.
it's a plug-in and it lasts
Yeah.
a month, and you just get refills for the device that plugs it into the wall. So the first time you buy the kit, it has the whole 9 yards, and then it's cheaper to just get the refills, and you pop the refill into the thing, and away you go. And it has, I can't remember how many square feet,
Oh, yeah, I
uh,
don't remember.
it
Right,
works
right.
for,
Yeah, I don't
but it's
remember.
for, a good large room. It's not gonna go if you have an upstairs with a central hallway and a bunch of bedrooms coming off, it's not gonna go around corners
Right,
easily.
right,
It
right.
needs to be in a large space.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
humans smell it?
I don't think
Can
so.
people smell it?
Think so.
Huh. I've never heard of it. Interesting.
No, Linda, we also had an owner that emailed us. They have an older cat. It's 11, and it's. I know you're going to know what this is. Um, it's eating like crazy, losing weight, kind of picking at itself, and nervous. And what's your assessment on that? I'm going to see if we hit it together here.
Okay, so given an 11-year-old cat that is eating like there's no tomorrow and losing weight, my dream. The first the first thing I think of that I would want to rule out is feline hyperthyroidism, which is a benign condition of the thyroid. That's the gland in the neck that controls our metabolism. So, in people, a lot of times they are hypothyroid. If you are a dog owner, you can see hypothyroid. And when it's hypo, that means there's less of the thyroxine, and these dogs lose their hair, they're very sluggish, they tend to be overweight. We don't see that very often in cats. And the problem in cats is that there is an um, an excessive amount of thyroxine being produced by the two thyroid glands, and there is sometimes thyroid tissue elsewhere in the body. That's kind of bizarre, but the main place is right in the neck, right alongside the trachea. And normally you would not feel a thyroid in a cat, but when you have fingers that always do that, because that's part of an exam that should be done every time a cat is seen, especially if they're older. If you feel two little blips as you bring your fingers down, you know that the thyroid is enlarged. Not every enlarged thyroid is secreting thyroxine, but many of them can. And what happens is that with the rest of your endocrine system, all the hormones that your body produces, there are things that say the pituitary is the master gland, it's in your brain. And it produces stimulating hormones. So there's thyroid stimulating hormone. That goes to the thyroid and says, okay, thyroid, it's time to produce thyroxine. So the thyroid makes thyroxine, and then there's a feedback mechanism where it goes back to the brain and it says, okay, pituitary, it's time to shut off. And the pituitary shuts off, and everything is nice and smooth. If you're a cat with feline hyperthyroidism, the thyroid gland is working independent of what the pituitary is saying, and it just keeps pouring out more and more thyroxine. And so they're eating like there's no tomorrow, and there's losing weight, and they can get a heart murmur, and their blood pressure can go up. So, and they can be maybe a little nervous, okay? But that's what happens with a feline hyperthyroid cat. And we are very fortunate now that we have a number of different ways that it can be treated. It used to be that it was surgery, which unfortunately the thyroid gland has on one end of it a parathyroid gland, which controls your calcium levels. Inside the thyroid is another parathyroid gland. And if you inadvertently, in your removal of these uh, hyperthyroid glands, get rid of the parathyroid glands, you're in big trouble because your cat's going to go into tetany, and it's worse than having that happen. So, and even if only one side feels enlarged, if you only take the one side out, in a year, or I don't know exactly how much longer, the other side is going to become hyperthyroid as well. So that was one thing. The gold standard has been using radioactive iodine. And we are very lucky in Ohio that there are a number of places that are able to do it. And they give your cat an injection of radioactive iodine, and it stays in the facility for a certain number of days so that it not only doesn't glow in the dark, but it's relatively safe to come home, with the proviso that the first month it's home, you need to collect all of the urine and all of the stool. And so that really means using clumpable litter. And you need to put that into a garbage can in your garage, where it will then sit for another month for radioactive decay to occur, so that when your garbage people take your trash and they take it to wherever they're going to dump it, there's a little magic wand over garbage trucks that look for radioactivity. And if it picks that up, they go through the trash and they find out who has radioactive waste, and then you're in big trouble. With people who get radioactive iodine, it goes into Lake Erie or wherever, your fluid and whatever ends up going. So that is considered the gold standard. And very often, the people who do it are good enough at judging the dose of radioactive iodine that the cat gets, because we don't want the cat to become hypothyroid. We want the cat to still be able to make some thyroxine. And I always think it's better to get it towards the high end of normal, because kidney function is a big thing. And when you have increased perfusion, it can mask underlying kidney issues. And if you overdo it, you will potentially bring out kidney problems. The other thing, which is kind of interesting, and is for a specific small percentage of cats, because cats are very finicky eaters, is Hill's developed a diet that is iodine free. So, what that tells us all is that if you go to any product on the shelf in the pet food department, whether it's soy, whether it's chicken, fish, eggs, beef, you name it, there is iodine in it. You cannot have any iodine in the food. So the food that Hills makes is 100% iodine free. And the beauty of it is, big if, the cat eats it, and I've had cats eat it, and so I'm a believer in it. If they eat it, within 2 to 3 weeks, their thyroid level will be normal. Not only that, but so I'll go back a step. When you're giving the cat the pills, which we didn't even talk about yet, because there's a medication that interferes with the thyroxine getting into the cells. There is no what we call linear relationship between how bad the cat's thyroid is and the level of medication. So if you have a linear relationship, and this is your y axis and this is your x axis, and your T4 is up here, then there should be an amount of thyroxine, because that's along this level, that says perfect dose. Does not exist. So we start out giving a certain amount, and after 2 to 3 weeks, people come back in, we do the blood test, and we see whether the thyroid is in the right place. If it isn't, you need to adjust up, you might need to adjust down, and it becomes expensive, although people don't see it initially, that they're coming back and forth just to get the right level of drug. And then the other thing is, you have to also do a renal panel, because as I alluded to earlier, when you have great perfusion and when you're hyperthyroid, the blood is whooshing through your kidneys. There's a lot of blood going through the kidneys. The kidney has a chance to remove urea from the bloodstream, and then you urinate it out. But once your thyroid is functioning normally and there's less going through, it will reveal underlying kidney disease. And so that's why I'm saying it's always better to be on the high end of normal so that you help to save your kidneys. And the beauty with the food is that it blunts the effect that we normally see. And so the kidney function on a diet of, it's called YD, is much better. They typically, in my hands, the cats will like the dry food, the wet food, not so much. But you know what? It's like we talked about with diets for allergic cats last week. I am not going to tell your cat what it likes. It's your cat's responsibility to tell me what it likes and what potentially is going to work. And so, therefore, if I can give them a sample of wet and a sample of dry, and if the cat likes one of them, great. And if they have other cats in the household, it becomes tricky. Either you feed everybody separately, or if your hyperthyroid cat is a grazer, then you spend more money and you put out the dry YD if that's what the cat likes. And if the other cats choose to eat it when their food is not available, it's still available for your hyperthyroid cat. But you just let them get into one of the other cat's foods and you've blown it.
I think what people don't realize is when older cats start to lose weight like that, oh, they think, oh, they're just getting old, they're just losing muscle mass. But that needs to
Why
be
doesn't it
investigated.
happen to us?
Now, speaking of diet, are you aware of the Purina Pro Plan diet called Live Clear? Janet, this is interesting. You feed it
Not
to
yet.
cats. Yeah, you feed it to cats whose owners are allergic to cats. So it makes the cat less allergenic. But
Really?
yes, you did. I told you about it. It reduces the allergenicity of the cat by almost 50%, but it takes like 3 weeks, I think, to actually kick in. Yeah, it's called Live Clear. And you know what's sad? I don't think they really marketed it that much for people to know about it because, look at how many people love cats, but they're allergic, so they can't have them. But yeah, it's Purina Pro Plan, and I checked. They're
So
still
why
making
don't
it.
you explain to everybody?
What?
Because I have what I thought was the answer. I thought that it's not the dander on the cat's coat that people become allergic to. That's sticky.
It's called it's called the feline L antigen, which actually lives in the rectal area of the cat. Then when the cat grooms, they lick there and then they lick all over and spread it all over. So what the diet has is it has an antibody to that, so it binds to that on the cat once the cat starts eating it and renders it, neutralizes it. I think it's fascinating.
Perfect. Okay. And for cats that don't like the food, does the following thing still work? I was told that if somebody is allergic to cats and they get a kitten, when they first get the kitten, they place it in their laundry tub in the basement and they get distilled water, and that's at a comfortable temperature, and they slowly pour it over the cat. And they can put the cat in a Tupperware basin and they can use the same water a couple of times over the cat's body. And what that does is it elutes or removes all of that stuff from the anal sac area that they put on their body. And so you start out doing it once a week. And so it's like everything else, pilling and cutting toenails. If a cat says, oh, it's shower day,
Oh,
they get their little bath, okay? And
right.
after a couple of months, once a month is all you need because the amount of that material that's
Right.
on the body is so little that it no longer is a problem for the allergic owner.
I could see that might have a place in reducing the cat allergen. What I find interesting is when you go into public schools, say elementary public schools, the most ubiquitous allergen in there is cat dander. And cat dander, I swear to God, you could take it to the moon and it would still be there. There's an island in the Pacific. For the past 30 years, there have been no cats there, and you can still find cat dander there. So it's pretty
That's because
hefty.
it's so sticky. It
Well,
adheres
probably.
people buy a house and they don't realize
Yeah.
when they buy a home in
Yeah.
which cats lived that the walls, the floors, the
Right.
carpeting all have this sticky cat dander
Yeah.
that for them to truly get rid of it, they have to scrub the walls.
Yes.
And they have to clean the carpets, etc.
Yeah.
And
I
there's
see-
the evil cat.
Janet, which one is that?
This is Isabel. She has great eyeliner. Look.
I know she does. She's so symmetrical.
She's locked in here because the mouse is in here.
Oh, that's right. There's a mouse in her house,
Linda.
Linda.
Oh, I just went upstairs to my attic.
Yes.
And I have been laying down these little bags of mouse and rat poison because we had a squirrel come in a number of years ago that totally freaked me out. And that hopefully the hole where it got in was fixed, but then there was some mice.
Oh.
And I can't believe these guys must be so hungry, even though it's not been that cold out.
Right.
I just replenished 3 bags. I have under the eaves. I've got 3 under the eaves and 1 bedroom on my 3rd floor.
Oh my God.
And I put down 3 bags of mouse poison under 2 of the eaves just last week.
Oh my God.
And it's like in one of them, 2 of them are already gone. And I
Wow.
don't see any dead mice there.
Right.
I'm just hoping that they feel good about eating and decide they want to go outside to relieve themselves, and they're going to die outside.
Hey, we had flying squirrels in our attic. At 6 o'clock every night, I would sometimes be up in bed reading, and I'd hear scratch, scratch, scratch. So I sent my husband up in the attic, and here we put a small have-a-heart trap up there. And we caught them, and they're so cute. I have to tell you, they're so cute. You have to take those 5 miles away to relocate them. And then when our tree guy came over to look at some trees that we needed taken down or trimmed, he was up on the ladder. He said, well, there's your flying squirrel nest right there in the tree in front of the house. So yeah, flying squirrels in our attic. Yeah.
That's why Mike's on the wanted poster for dumping those flying squirrels 5 miles from your home.
Yeah, I'm not telling you where because it wasn't the national park.
Your neighbors might not want to know. Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing how these things, and I've been in this house since 1978, and I don't know why all of a sudden they decided to become, residents.
Yeah.
Could be construction around you.
Is there?
New houses?
No.
That could be
No,
disruptive.
there's no. It's all. This is an old neighborhood, and nobody's building anything new.
Well,
we need to wrap it up.
We
So
need to
I can't believe how quickly this flew by.
Well, we just love it. Do we need to ask Dr. Linda about another pet peeve or no?
Sure. What's
You got any? What's your today's pet peeve? Mice in the attic?
Yeah, mice in the attic. And it shouldn't necessarily be the responsibility of our personal cats to be on mouse patrol. And a friend of mine, it's really cute. A friend of mine sent me a video. She's a cat practitioner, retired in Toronto.
Oh.
And it shows a mouse on a street.
Yeah.
A cat. And it crosses the street, and there's a small rat. And the rat approaches the cat, and the cat goes, and then back. And the cat is freaked out. It is so afraid of this rat. It's really funny.
Oh my gosh.
Who would have thought, right?
I know. I'm telling you. Well, Janet, what do you say? This is Alice Novotny Jeroman
and Janet Novotny King, the Novotny sisters, saying thank you for listening in. We appreciate you. And don't forget to look for us on all social media channels. And Dr. Linda, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
It's my pleasure.
I really appreciate you.
You guys are the best. Thank you.
Don't forget to give your cats and dogs a big kiss for us.
Hey, thanks for watching.
And listening.
We like likes.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Speaking of Pets.
And give your pets a big kiss from the Novotny sisters.
The Speaking of Pets podcast is an SLA video production.